Natalie Wood was one of Hollywood's most admired and recognizable stars, remembered for her grace, emotional depth, and an on-screen presence that resonated across generations. Her life, however, was shaped not only by talent and success, but also by pressures that came with early fame and the expectations of a demanding industry. In November 1981, her unexpected death shocked the public and led to decades of speculation, questions, and conflicting recollections. Over time, new testimonies and reopened investigations added more nuance rather than simple answers. Understanding Natalie's story means looking at her beginnings, her rise, her relationships, and the night that changed her legacy. This summary reflects her journey with care, avoiding blame, and focusing on her humanity, achievements, and emotional struggles rather than controversy. The night that shocked Hollywood. On November 29, 1981, Natalie Wood's passing near Catalina Island led to widespread grief throughout the entertainment world. She had been spending the Thanksgiving weekend on a yacht called Splendour, accompanied by her husband, Robert Wagner, actor Christopher Walken, and the yacht's captain. What was intended to be a peaceful getaway turned somber when Natalie was later discovered in the water. The official reports initially classified the tragedy as an accident, noting that the circumstances were unclear. Her clothing and the state of the small boat nearby left many puzzled, but the emphasis at the time was on mourning rather than inquiry. Friends, colleagues, and fans struggled to understand how such a lively and admired individual could be lost so suddenly. The news marked the beginning of a lasting conversation about her life, her work, and the pressures she faced both personally and professionally. Early beginnings and family influence. Natalie Wood was born Natalia Nikolaevna Zakharenko to Russian immigrant parents who believed that discipline and opportunity would shape a better life for their children. From a young age, Natalie was encouraged to perform, and her earliest roles came not from ambition of her own, but from her mother's belief that Natalie was destined for the screen. Directors recognized her natural emotional sensitivity, and she quickly gained roles that showcased her ability to express deep feeling. While her talent brought admiration, it also meant long working hours, limited playtime, and a childhood shaped largely by film sets rather than playgrounds. Her early exposure to Hollywood life taught her professionalism and resilience, but also brought pressure to appear mature and composed before she had experienced ordinary childhood development. These foundational years made her a skilled, intuitive performer, but also influenced the challenges she later faced when balancing her identity with public expectations. Transition from child star to leading actress. As Natalie grew older, the industry's perception of her evolved, moving from heartwarming childhood roles to emotionally charged teenage performances required both personal and professional transformation. Her breakthrough in Rebel Without a Cause marked a turning point, allowing her to be seen as a serious young actress capable of portraying vulnerability and depth. The performance brought her critical acclaim and award recognition. However, transitioning into adult roles also meant navigating a film industry that often defined actresses more by image than individuality. Natalie managed these shifts with determination, continuously choosing roles that challenged her rather than simply securing fame. Her dedication allowed her to build a career that spanned genres, including drama, romance, and musicals such as West Side Story. Even as she succeeded, she faced internal questions about identity, self-worth, and the need to balance personal happiness with professional demand, a challenge familiar to many performing artists. The first marriage to Robert Wagner, a golden union under pressure. When Natalie Wood and Robert Wagner married, Hollywood celebrated them as the embodiment of glamour and romance. Their pairing seemed destined, two rising stars whose charm and talent complemented each other perfectly. Both were admired for their screen presence and charisma, and together they became a symbol of the ideal Hollywood couple. Behind the polished exterior, however, their marriage faced the same pressures that accompany fame and youth. Constant media attention, professional rivalries, and the demanding pace of their careers added strain to their relationship. Studios and fans alike expected them to represent perfection, a burden that few couples could sustain. Natalie, who had grown up under the intense discipline of child stardom, was still discovering her own identity as an adult woman and artist. Robert, confident and traditional, had his own expectations about partnership and career. Their differences sometimes clashed, revealing how difficult it can be for two ambitious people to find balance when every decision is amplified by public scrutiny. Despite their challenges, they maintained deep affection and mutual respect. When their first marriage came to an end, it was not with bitterness, but with an understanding that personal growth sometimes requires painful choices. Their separation was highly publicized, yet they both continued to speak kindly of one another, leaving open the possibility of reconnection. This first chapter in their relationship reflected both the fragility and the endurance of love in the spotlight. A love that, though interrupted, was far from over. A time of self-discovery and growth. Following the end of her first marriage, Natalie entered a period of introspection. Having spent her youth performing, she now sought independence and a deeper understanding of herself beyond the screen. She began exploring more complex roles that allowed her to express emotional depth, moving away from the ingenue image that had defined her earlier career. Films like Splendour in the Grass and Love with the Proper Stranger demonstrated her ability to portray vulnerability and strength in equal measure. In her personal life, Natalie experienced the excitement and uncertainty of independence. She formed new friendships, pursued interests outside of acting, and took time to rediscover what happiness meant to her. Yet, despite her success and growth, she continued to long for stability, a sense of belonging that fame alone could not provide. The world saw her as a star, but she yearned to be understood as a woman, daughter, and mother. This period shaped her into someone wiser and more grounded, setting the stage for the renewal of a love she had never fully let go of. A return to love and a second chapter. Years after their first separation, fate brought Natalie and Robert back together. Both had matured through experience and had weathered personal and professional challenges that made them more aware of what they truly valued. Their reunion was not impulsive, but thoughtful, built on shared history and mutual growth. This time, their relationship was rooted in understanding rather than youthful idealism. When they remarried, it was seen as a rare Hollywood fairy tale, two people finding their way back to each other after years apart. In this new phase of their marriage, Natalie placed greater focus on family life. She and Robert created a home that balanced warmth with creative energy, raising children while continuing their careers in film and television. Natalie became selective about the roles she took, preferring to dedicate more time to her daughters and to maintaining a sense of normalcy away from the cameras. While their love was genuine, their relationship, like any long-term partnership, was not without its challenges. Balancing two demanding careers and the pressures of Hollywood sometimes reignited old tensions. Still, there was a deeper foundation of mutual respect and affection. Publicly, their renewed marriage was celebrated as a romantic second chance. Privately, it was a complex and evolving bond between two people trying to sustain love amid the competing demands of art, fame, and family. Natalie's devotion to family and her evolving identity. In her later years, Natalie found her greatest fulfillment in motherhood. She was deeply devoted to her daughters, and friends often remarked on her warmth, attentiveness, and desire to provide them with the normal childhood she herself had missed. She balanced her domestic life with a continuing passion for acting, though she approached her career with new priorities. Rather than chasing fame, she sought meaningful projects that resonated with her emotionally. Natalie's maturity was reflected in her choices. She was drawn to stories that explored identity, vulnerability, and the quiet complexities of love. Her career at this stage mirrored her personal evolution, a talented woman learning to navigate between the public expectations of stardom and the private joys of family. For Natalie, fulfillment meant more than box office success. It meant authenticity, peace, and purpose. The final film and growing pressure. In 1981, Natalie accepted a role in Brainstorm, a science fiction drama that explored consciousness and technology. The project represented both a professional challenge and a personal milestone. Her return to major film work after focusing on family life. Working alongside new co-stars and production staff, Natalie approached the project with professionalism and commitment. She was determined to remind both herself and the industry that she remained a powerful creative force. However, the process was not without its difficulties. Filming demanded long hours, emotional depth, and adaptability, and Natalie was balancing it with her responsibilities as a wife and mother. This period required enormous emotional energy, especially as she sought to maintain harmony at home while fully re-engaging with her career. Those close to her noted that she seemed contemplative, yet optimistic, eager to contribute meaningfully to her craft. Her passion for acting had not dimmed, it had matured, deepened, and become more personal. Despite the mounting pressures, Natalie's dedication to artistic integrity remained unwavering, a reflection of her enduring spirit as both an artist and a woman. The Thanksgiving weekend, a moment of calm before tragedy. As Brainstorm neared completion, Natalie joined Robert Wagner, her co-star Christopher Walken, and the yacht's captain for a Thanksgiving weekend trip off the coast of California's Catalina Island. The gathering was meant to be a brief escape, a chance to relax, share good food, and enjoy the ocean. During the day, the atmosphere was friendly and lighthearted, filled with conversation about their work and future plans. As the evening unfolded, they shared drinks and discussions that ranged from professional reflections to personal stories. Accounts of that night differ, as they often do in emotionally charged moments. The weather had turned cold, and the sea was rough, with the yacht shifting under the wind. The group's interactions, while mostly pleasant, carried the emotional intensity that can arise among close friends and partners. What happened later that night remains uncertain. Natalie was later discovered to have drowned near the yacht, a loss that shocked Hollywood and left her loved ones searching for answers. The details of that night would forever remain clouded by the ocean's silence and the limits of human memory. The initial investigation. Searching for answers. Authorities launched an investigation into Natalie's death soon after her body was discovered. At the time, they concluded that it was a tragic accident, citing the weather, the condition of the yacht, and the lack of definitive evidence suggesting foul play. The prevailing theory was that she may have fallen into the water while attempting to secure a dinghy. However, those who knew her found it difficult to accept such an ending, given her well-known fear of dark water. The investigation, though thorough for its time, left many lingering questions. The witnesses' recollections were shaped by stress, grief, and the chaos of the moment, making it difficult to piece together a clear timeline. For Natalie's family, the loss was devastating, not just for its suddenness, but for the unanswered questions it left behind. Fans and colleagues mourned her not only as a star, but as a woman whose life had been filled with grace, empathy, and artistry. Transition to adolescence and rising fame. As Natalie grew older, she faced the challenging shift between being seen as a child actor and gaining recognition as a serious teenage performer. This period is often difficult for young actors, as the public and film studios can struggle to adjust their expectations. For Natalie, the turning point came with Rebel Without a Cause, where she delivered a powerful performance that earned her widespread respect and award recognition. Her work helped redefine her image, allowing audiences to see her versatility and emotional depth. She was no longer simply the bright-eyed child from holiday classics. She was an actress capable of exploring complex emotion. This transition required courage, especially amid the competitive environment of Hollywood. Natalie carefully selected roles that would challenge her abilities rather than confine her to familiar patterns. As a result, she began appearing in films that addressed themes such as love, confusion, and self-discovery, experiences that reflected her own inner growth. Despite being admired for her work, the pressure to maintain a strong public image and live up to rising expectations remained constant. Navigating fame, media attention, and personal development simultaneously required maturity beyond her years. For Natalie, acting became more than a profession. It became a language through which she could express emotions she rarely voiced openly. Her performances resonated deeply with audiences because they felt real, grounded not just in technique, but in the vulnerability she carried. This era of her career solidified her place among Hollywood's leading performers and demonstrated her commitment to evolving as an artist, not simply maintaining celebrity status. Personal relationships and first marriage. Natalie's personal relationships were shaped by her desire for emotional connection and understanding. Her marriage to actor Robert Wagner was widely celebrated in the entertainment world. The two were admired for their charm, elegance, and shared presence in Hollywood's social circles. Their relationship appeared harmonious in public photos and interviews, representing what many newspapers and magazines called a storybook romance. However, like any relationship, especially one under constant public attention, theirs included private challenges and disagreements, shaped by individual experiences and responsibilities. Both Natalie and Robert were balancing demanding careers during their marriage. Their schedules, professional pressures, and differing stages in their careers sometimes created emotional distance. Yet, they maintained a strong respect for one another and shared a meaningful bond that continued even after the marriage ended. Their separation was discussed widely, and though it attracted media attention, Natalie handled it with grace and maturity, emphasizing care rather than conflict, reconciliation, and second marriage. Years after their separation, Natalie and Robert reconnected during a time when both had grown through life's challenges. Their renewed relationship was not based on glamour alone, but on familiarity, history, and deeper understanding. Their second marriage marked a new chapter built on shared priorities, including family life and raising their children. During this time, Natalie shifted her focus toward her role as a mother, finding fulfillment in moments that balanced home and selective film projects. Their home life included celebrations, creative discussions, and travel. Though every partnership contains moments of misunderstanding, their commitment to one another remained visible in their daily interactions. They supported one another through personal transitions, career adjustments, and the responsibilities of parenthood. Those who knew them often described this stage of their marriage as more grounded and centered than their earlier years. Natalie's choice to return to this relationship reflected her desire for continuity and emotional safety. It also demonstrated her belief in second chances and personal evolution. The partnership offered both stability and companionship. Despite the complexities that naturally come with rebuilding a relationship, Natalie approached this period with sincerity. The second marriage stood not just as a rekindled romance, but as a testament to the capacity for growth and forgiveness. Career resurgence and creative passion. After years of prioritizing family life, Natalie began returning to larger film roles, including the project Brainstorm, which provided an opportunity to challenge herself creatively and work with new collaborators. This time in her career represented a renewed artistic awakening. Natalie approached her work thoughtfully, bringing sensitivity, intelligence, and focus to her performances. While balancing family life alongside filming required planning and communication, she embraced the challenge and expressed excitement about artistic possibilities. Returning to acting after a pause is often emotionally complex. Some performers feel pressure to match or exceed their earlier achievements, while others worry about how audiences will receive them. Natalie handled these uncertainties with professionalism, choosing to focus on the meaning of the work rather than external expectations. She valued collaboration and often took time to understand the motivations of her characters and their emotional realities. The final weekend and unexpected loss. During the Thanksgiving weekend, Natalie traveled with her husband, a colleague from the film project, and the yacht's captain. The intention behind the trip was relaxation and time away from daily routines. The group shared meals, conversations, and quiet moments while anchored near Catalina Island. Weather conditions that weekend included shifting waves and cooler night temperatures, typical of late November in the area. Later in the evening, the group returned to the yacht. Accounts of the atmosphere differ, which is common when memories are recalled under emotional strain. What is known is that at some point during the night, Natalie was no longer on board, leading to concern and eventual involvement of search authorities. The circumstances of her passing were deeply distressing for those involved and for the many who admired her. Her loss prompted grief throughout Hollywood and among audiences who felt a personal connection through her performances. At the time, officials concluded that the death was accidental based on available information. For her family, friends, and colleagues, the focus became honoring her memory and supporting her children. The period following her passing was filled with reflection, shared stories, and a renewed appreciation for her contributions to film and the emotional resonance she carried. Re-examination and public discussion. In the years that followed, public interest in Natalie's passing continued. Some individuals came forward with recollections or personal perspectives, which led authorities to review aspects of the case to ensure completeness. When investigations were revisited, the purpose was to compare earlier reports with new information and to study statements from those present during the weekend. These reassessments did not aim to assign guilt, but rather to clarify whether all available details had been considered. Different witnesses recalled the night in different ways, which is common when events involve stress and emotion. Some expressed that they heard voices or sounds across the water, while others remembered conversations or movements aboard nearby boats. Investigators reviewed these accounts alongside environmental conditions, timing, and earlier reports. As additional evaluations were made, officials acknowledged that certain questions might remain unresolved due to the passage of time and limitations of available evidence. Throughout these discussions, it remained important to maintain respect for all individuals involved, recognizing that memories can be complex and interpretations naturally differ. For many, the ongoing examinations reflected society's desire to understand, not to sensationalize. The re-examinations encouraged thoughtful conversation about safety, communication, and emotional dynamics within relationships, all of which are deeply human themes connected to Natalie's story. Emotional legacy and cultural impact. Natalie Wood's legacy extends beyond her films and into the emotional connection she formed with audiences worldwide. Her performances spoke to universal experiences: longing, love, confusion, and resilience. People saw themselves in her characters, not because they had lived the same lives, but because she brought honest human feeling to every role. Her work remains part of film history, studied and appreciated by new generations of viewers and actors. Those who knew Natalie described her as compassionate, thoughtful, and deeply attuned to the emotions of others. She valued relationships and tried to support those close to her, even while managing the pressures of constant public attention. Her life highlights the complexities of balancing personal identity and public image, a challenge faced by many artists. Remembering Natalie means acknowledging both her achievements and her humanity. She experienced joy, uncertainty, love, and struggle, all while creating work that continues to move people decades later. Her legacy is not defined by speculation or unanswered questions, but by the emotional truth she brought to every role and the lasting impression she left on those who admired her. Natalie's story encourages empathy, reflection, and appreciation for the strength it takes to remain authentic,